Hello everyone and welcome to a brief presentation highlighting the key benefits of VCarve Desktop and how they will help showcase your machine capabilities. This demo is based on creating 2D vectors and applying a few toolpath options to build a sign that looks more complicated than many would expect. This is based on the existing 5-star coffee sign that would normally take 2 videos lasting up to 40 minutes as it shows all the parameters for each function. However, this demo is a fast-paced presentation to hopefully excite a new prospect with a vast array of software and machine action in just 20 minutes. So just before I start building the 2D design, we should consider a couple of concerns that some prospects may ask. 1. Can I create the design directly from the software? 2. Can I work with third-party files? And 3. Is creating toolpaths a difficult process? Okay, so let's move straight into the software. Okay, so you can see on the screen a completed project here with the 2D view on the left hand side, which is a selection of vectors and the image of the coffee beans, and on the right hand side we have the 3D simulation and the photo VCarve of the coffee beans. But please note that we will also be using the coffee mug to create a VCarve texture in the center of that sign as well. Okay, so let's go across now and go to File New, and we're going to pick a single file which is 19 by 9 by 3/4 inch in depth, our XY datum center, and we'll use a model resolution very high. So with that I can now move straight into the vectors, and I'm going to create a rectangle. So from the center I'm just going to center that forward, and I'm actually going to use the form to use 18 inches in width and 4 in height, and go down now to create the circle. So I'm going to apply the circle in the center, and this is going to be just a height of 4 in radius. And we can now look to modify this sort of rectangle to create a sort of diagonal angle with that. But to do that, I'm just going to go into the node editing now and select the midpoint, and then use the cursor just to move this up by 0.5 and come across to the top, and also move this down by 0.5. So with that I can now look to possibly trim this, but an easier way to do that is to select the 2 items and go straight into the weld option. Okay. So alongside the single perimeter we've got, we now need to create 2 extra vectors that will form the V-carving toolpath. So I'm going to go into the offset strategy and select inwards by 0.2 inches, and we're going to create sharp corners and offset inwards. I'm now going to come back and just add in an extra one of 0.1 inches and offset that now. So essentially we now have 3 vectors. Okay, so I'll go back up to the layer management and just rename that layer 1 to say outline. So I'll have that set. And now we're going to come down and import some vectors for the construction. So this has been created as a DXF file, so import vectors. We have the 5-star coffee construction.dxf file, and you can see that we have 6 individual vectors dotted on there, which are representations for the construction. So I'm just going to come back up to the layer now, and we're going to switch down the outline one, and you can see the layer construction has been created as part of the DXF file, and I'm going to create a new layer which is going to be called text. Okay, and this will then form the basis for creating the 5-star coffee sign text, and of course the 5 stars that will be evenly distributed across the top curve. So with that I'm going to go across and create the sort of master star, and then close out and come down now to by selecting the top curve and selecting the coffee along vectors, and we're going to use the number of copies to be 5 and copy that across. So I can close that down now, and I'm just going to remove the original one, and we can now look to start creating the text, which is the 5-star coffee. So with that I'm just going to go to the draw text, and we're just going to select maybe 5-star coffee, and this is in Times New Roman height 0.8. And of course we've got a single piece of text, and we'd like to break this up into separate lines. So I can do that easily with right mouse key, break text into lines. So I can do that. We can see 3 separate entities now. And now I'm going to take the top 5 and locate it in between these sort of 2 diagonal vectors. So I'm going to select the bottom vector and the top one and come across to the distort tool, and I'm going to use the between 2 curves and apply, and then go across and do also for the star. So we're going to come across and select the bottom and the top, come across to the distort between 2 curves. Okay, so let's close down that command and come across now and look to actually take the coffee sign and then evenly distribute it across the bottom curve. So with that, I'm just going to shift and pick the bottom curve and use the text on a curve option. And I'm just going to go on a curve here, but we do need to text onto another side. And I'm just going to change the spacing. You can see it's a little close to each other at the moment. But we just open that up and that looks okay. And I'm just going to close that down and take a closer look here. And we can see that there is a sort of larger gap between the C and the O and the F, and maybe a small gap between the 2 F's and between the F and the E. So we can easily address that with the edit text spacing command, and I can simply come into here now and just simply click over there, and that will close that down here between the O and the C and also the O and the F, and then hold the shift key down now and we'll just open it up between the 2 F's and the F and the E. So that looks now to have just sort of made the minor modifications to get exactly what we want here. So with that now we've got the main piece here. So I'm just going to come down now and switch off the construction line, but we now need to just switch on the outline and think about what we're going to do about adding the coffee mug in the center. We need to import the bitmap and also create the vector. So I'm going to add a new layer now, and we're going to call this mug. Okay, and we're just now ready to import the bitmap. So I'm going to select the bitmap now, which is the coffee mug JPG, and we can see that located on the screen. But I'm just going to change the spacing here and lower that down by width to be 6.3 inches and apply that and just close that down. And I'm just going to now position that into the relevant location. Okay, so let's take a closer look now. I've got the position fine, but we need to take a look now at the bitmap and the sort of type of vectors that we're going to need to create. As you can see, it's a particularly difficult sort of fragmented bitmap that we've got, but we'll try and create something and have a smooth sort of vectors in order to create the V-carving toolpath. So I'm going to select the image now and come across to the trace bitmap option. And in this case, we're going to use the black and white option, but I'm going to slightly increase the threshold. We're going to go a loose option, but given the fact that we've got so many pieces here, that I'm actually going to increase the noise filter. Okay, and now we can just come down and just preview that. So everything looks good there, and I'm just going to apply that now. So we're happy now with the vectors, but what I will do is just switch off the original bitmap and take a closer look at the vectors we have. We can see that they are particularly fragmented based on the particular image that we had, but there's some cool tools now for the sort of tolerancing to create a nice, smooth, curved vectors. So with that, I'm going to go straight into the curve fit option. We're going to select the Bezier curve option here with some allowance of 30 thou. And we're going to initially, I'm not going to replace them first, just so we can see a little closer. So if I preview that now, you can see just that we're going to get a far nice smooth result by this rather cool fit curve tool to create a better option. So with that, I am going to sort of replace that now and preview that and just OK that. So with that, we've now got the vectors that we ideally want to create the actual design. So we can now move forward to the machining. However, before we actually go ahead and create the toolpaths, we ought to really address the design concerns that we looked at earlier. On question 1, can I create a vector design directly in the software? Well, the answer is yes. You've got the full vector suite such as lines, shapes, text and dimensions. You've got the simple intuitive skills such as smart snapping and quick keys. You've got the rapid design tools such as offset, weld, wrap text, scale, copy along, vectors, distort, and of course you've got the easy management with the use of colors and layers. And on question 2, can I work with third-party files? Well, the answer is yes again. You've got quick access to import a vast array such as the DXF, DWG and SVG. You've got the automatic tool to create geometry directly from the images, really the trace bitmap command. And of course, we've seen here today the ability to go from rough to smooth using the dynamic tools for tolerancing and smoothing. And if we do need to, we've got the complete control to drill down to individual vectors, nodes, if we do need to make any modifications. Okay, so having addressed the vector design issues, let's move straight forward into the next final concern, which is creating toolpaths a difficult process? So let's go back into the software and quickly generate and simulate the toolpaths that can be easily applied onto your machine. Okay, so we can go straight up to the machine tab now, and we're going to set the material up, which is just 3/4 inch, and okay that, and come straight in to think about the V carving. So with that, I'm now going to pick all the vectors here with the exception of the outer perimeter. Come straight up to the V carving option, and I'll start depth at 0. We're just going to use tool shape to create the actual depth, and come straight in now with a 120 degree 1¼ inch tool and calculate. So we've got the tool path that's been created now, and then we take a closer look. You can see where the tool is coming up into the corners to create a nice sharp edge. And now we can look to actually simulate that. So I'm going to use a different color here for the tool path, which is going to be a gray there. And we're just going to preview all of those now. So I'm just going to show that on the screen. And we can immediately see just quite a dramatic look with in particular with the V carving of the coffee mug in the center and all the way around that edge there, which creates a really nice sharp edge. Now what I am going to do in this case is we're going to move out of the sort of V carving for the coffee mug and replace that with the coffee beans as a photo V carving strategy. So with that, I'm now going to just come back into the 2D view now. I'm just going to actually double click on the toolpath, come down to the 2D view, and I'm going to just not use the external vectors for the coffee mug, and then come back down to the toolpath and calculate, and just reset the preview now, and then we will re-preview with the revised toolpath without the coffee mug. And we can see now that we're ready and waiting to add the coffee beans. So we're going to go back to the 2D view now, and we now can come up and just switch off the coffee mug. And we're now going to just switch on the bitmap, and I'm just going to get the original one for the coffee mug and import now the image for the coffee beans. So this will be located in the center there, and we can now look to actually create the photo V carving toolpath. So I'm going to come back up to the machining tab and select the photo V carving and just calculate that with a depth of 15th thou using a 90 degree V bit that's 1/4 inch, and calculate. And we can immediately see that on the screen. And once again, I will change the color there to gray and apply that. And you can see there that it looks a fantastic finish, and if we take a closer look you can get an idea of the type of strategy that's created to create this sort of photorealistic view of the coffee beans in the center. Now to finish that, the only thing we need to create are the perimeter or the external outline. So I'm just going to come now and go back to the 2D view, select the outer vector and come back to the profiling, and we're going to take a depth from 0 all the way down to just past 3/4 inch with the 1/4 inch end mill, and we'll just apply that now. And we can now see in the 3D view the toolpaths and just apply that on the screen as well. And I'm just going to remove the wastage material, and we've got the completed sign. So this really shows a very dramatic sign, very simply with just a V carving toolpath, a little bit of profiling, and the very realistic photo V carving. Okay, so to summarize, is creating toolpaths a difficult process? Well, the answer is no, it isn't. You've got the easy material management with step-by-step process for the managing the material, the machine, and the tool database. You've got the intuitive range of toolpath types. We've seen that with the automatic vector V-carving, and we've also got the photo V-carving and the profiling, and you can also have access to others such as inlays and texturing. And the main thing is, of course, peace of mind, the ability to simulate before you actually commit to machining. So to conclude, this demo is a fast-paced presentation that should hopefully address your concerns and deliver an exciting 3D component that's easily designed and rapidly machined on one of your CNCs, hopefully resulting in your prospect becoming a customer and placing a CNC purchase. Well, I hope this demo helps, and thank you very much.